Shishigami is a character that at first seems like an ordinary teenager. However, this young man has a strong detachment for humanity, almost to the point of contempt. He is a young man with an emotional and existential void. He has practically only one friend, and shows no motivation for the future of his life. Among the few things that make him connect with his emotions is reading manga, where we even see him cry thanks to the chapters of One Piece. He also has an important friendship in his life, with the only schoolmate with whom he shows an emotional bond. But his basic state is that of someone cold and disinterested in the lives of others. Their friendship is in many ways a selfish dynamic in which Shishigami takes advantage of his friend and doesn't much care if his friend is happy. He wants to keep his friend in school, and when his friend starts missing school because of problems with his classmates, Shishigami pressures him not to miss classes, rather than helping him find solutions to his bullying problems. However, throughout the story, Shishigami is forced to reconsider his part in this friendship and begins to make small adjustments to make sure his friend is okay. At first his efforts are in vain, as his friend cannot tolerate the fact that Shishigami kills human beings, but at the end of the day, he does have affection for his friend and is unable to break his ties with him completely. The young man's life progresses aimlessly, until the accident in which he was turned into a weapon of destruction. From this point on, Shishigami has access to abilities that allow him to bend his environment to make things the way he prefers. His actions in many ways are consistent with what a lonely teenager would do if suddenly granted superpowers, i.e., he abuses them, plays with no regard for the harm he can do, and has no firm morality to guide this new existence. He becomes an agent of chaos, someone who does not defend any specific position, just having fun at the expense of everyone else's safety. His presence went from that of an indifferent being, to that of a threatening and violent being. Unlike most teenage girls, Shishigami also has a strong lack of empathy and a facility for harming living beings without feeling any remorse. This led to her actions being heinous, and she quickly began to take pleasure in harming people. As a machine, he realized that it was even more difficult for him to connect with the slight emotions he felt before, but he also realized that by killing others, he managed to feel alive. Unlike Inuyashiki, who managed to connect with his emotions by saving people, Shishigami was the opposite. He felt more alive when killing. He began to notice this when he saw a man commit suicide at the train station. This was not Shishigami's fault. However, he noticed that the emotion of that violence made him wake up from a heavy existence without meaning. Moreover, this new body made him drift further away from a humanity he never felt a part of. In his mind, he was something separate, so killing humans was not so different from killing ants. But even he was not completely immune to the need to have emotional ties. Although they were few, he did show ties to his friend, his mother, and the young woman who fell in love with him. When he received his new body, he decided to tell this secret to his friend. It seems to me that he did this because if he felt attachment to that young man, it would have been much easier and advantageous to keep the secret with everyone, but Shishigami trusted his friend. These bonds force him to rethink how he should live so as not to harm them, since, although he is a technological demigod, his loved ones are not, and he is forced to understand this in the most painful way possible. It is interesting to note that, unlike the route many writers use to develop antagonists, Shishigami does not show any childhood trauma that is making him behave this way. At least as far as the story shows, he is a young man with an average life that, although he has economic difficulties, they are not life or death. In general, it can be said that no one hurt him. He is not taking revenge on humanity. Rather than aggressive evil, Shishigami represents coldness and emptiness. His relationship with his mother was quite good. This is another of the few emotional bonds this character has and protects. In fact, at one point in the story, the concern about harming his mother with his acts of violence convinced Shishigami that he should stop harming the world, and he set out to better himself on her behalf. Unfortunately for everyone, it was too late, and the government already considered him an enemy of extreme danger, so they were willing to kill his mother to capture him. The loss of his mother again pushed Shishigami to the brink, and at that point, he had nothing to bind him to humanity. He became his completely free self, free to harm and destroy. Later, Shishigami meets the young girl who would fall in love with him, and begins a relationship with her to protect himself. In my opinion, at first he stayed with her for simple convenience, but little by little we saw that Shishigami developed respect, maybe not love, but affection for this young girl and her family, perhaps because they reminded him of his own mother, who had died because of him. Previously, and guided by fury, Shishigami had decided to make an enemy of all Japan and kill almost all its citizens. However, realizing that the meteorite was about to accomplish that goal, Shishigami was forced to reconsider the fact of being left completely alone. Thinking about this new reality, Shishigami had to recognize that he did not want to be alone and that he would really suffer for the loss of those he still considered important, such as his school friend or the girl who was in love with him. This led him to change his mind and make the ultimate sacrifice to protect those loved ones. Shishigami had this change of mind on his own, and this was an important step in his development. The first time he wanted to change, it was for his mother, the second time it was for his friend, but now, it was for himself and for all mankind. He could probably survive the meteorite by escaping the planet, but this would mean staying completely alone. His angry adolescent responses that he had shown before made him kill people and declare war on the world, but when a threat bigger than him was about to destroy everything, Shishigami understood that this was never what he wanted. He was forced to admit his true intentions and decided to sacrifice himself for the humanity he despised so much. The life of this young man was one of contrast and change, and although he committed unforgivable acts, together with Inuyashiki he also saved countless lives by giving his own existence as payment. Inuyashiki is not a story of good versus evil. It is a story of ordinary characters doing the best they can under the circumstances and chance that govern their lives. Characters who make mistakes and successes, and who show how complex, sad and beautiful human existence is. What do you think of this character? Leave me your opinion in the comments, and thank you for watching this video.